The Pittsburgh Steelers, well, I don't think that they're going to make the move many people want to see them make. They are going to lose a coach this offseason, but I don't think it's going to be Matt Canada. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/all Steelers talk or anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, well, I'm going to bring you some bad news, at least to those who have held strong to the train, who have texted me, who have slid into my Twitter DMs, who have made it known in the mentions, in the comments, how much they are hoping and waiting for this move to happen, for Matt Canada to be let go of his offensive coordinator duties and for the Pittsburgh Steelers to move on, find a new OC, give Kenny Pickett and this offense some light with somebody that they could actually trust. But maybe the Steelers trust Matt Canada. At least that's what the vibe is. At least that's the thought that I have right now, because leaving locker cleanout day, talking to Mike Tomlin for the last time this season, it didn't feel as if the Steelers were in any rush to get rid of Matt Canada, and they kind of feel like maybe things are starting to click and they could trust him, and they're open to growing together. Open to growing together is the big part here. That's the key word, open to growing. They understand that things aren't good. They understand that they need to get significantly better, but they also understand that the entire offense as a whole, talent included, was really, really bad at one point this season, that they didn't have a quarterback they could trust, that their quarterback who stepped in, who they can now trust, they couldn't trust in the beginning because Kenny Pickett, even if Kenny Pickett was a winner, quote unquote, he wasn't winning games early in the season, and that was his fault. He wasn't ready to win games for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had issues at running back. They had issues at the offensive line. Matt Canada was kind of thrown into the fire and said, hey, figure this out. He wasn't able to do that. I think now the Steelers look at this situation and say, well, things are moving in the right direction. Maybe for the first time, Matt Canada could have a group that he could actually win with in 2023. And I think right now, as we sit here today, there's a more likely chance that he is back than he is gone. And I have some reasons for that. There's two quotes that stand out. Obviously, there's the Najee Harris quote after the game where, he defends Matt Canada and says that we trust Matt and everybody believes in him here. And it was the players on the field. We didn't have the talent. We weren't making things happen. And yeah, he calls the same plays, but everybody in the NFL calls the same plays. That's what he said after the game. But then Mike Tomlin comes on and talks to the media for the last time this season. He's asked about how you would evaluate Matt Canada and do you expect him to be back next year? And he goes, I thought he got better, just like our team got better. I'm not going to speculate about him or anyone as I stand here today. As I mentioned, we fight, and that fight has come to an end. I'm just beginning the process of transitioning in terms of wrapping a bow around it and looking and seeing what 2023 looks like. I'm just not there. We got some work to do, but largely I thought he got better in ways that we got better. So it was encouraging. And then Kevin Dotson goes on a whole rant talking about how they had little faith in Matt Canada before the bye week, a ton of faith in Matt Canada by the end of the season. He goes, my confidence definitely started increasing during the year. At the beginning of the year, everybody was iffy. Everybody was iffy on the O-line, iffy on everything, and it definitely started building my confidence when I could start seeing a bit of the vision. That vision was a lot. That vision was pretty much everything for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's what they were missing all season, was a vision. They talked all year. The first half of the year, all you heard was there is no identity in Pittsburgh. The offense does not have an identity. We are unable to do things because we are trying to find our identity. The second half of the season, it was clear as day what that identity was. Let Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren control the offense. Let the offensive line do what they do best, and that's run block. Let the defense win you games, and let Kenny Pickett turn it on at the end and do what he needs to do. It was a pretty bulletproof plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least one that worked 7 times in the last 9 weeks. That's pretty impressive. And for the first time, you kind of felt like this offense and this team had some juice. You felt like if they made the playoffs, maybe a miracle run was there, maybe, big maybe. But you felt like this group had something that was working for it. And you just have to imagine that when Mike Tomlin sits down and goes through his 2022 review, which he's probably doing right now as we speak, and will continue to do all week, you have to imagine that when he looks at Matt Canada, he's going to look at the full scope of things, and he's going to say, man, the first half was bad. Last season was terrible. But the second half, you found a groove. It wasn't a good groove, but you found a groove. And then he's going to talk about things like, well, Kenny Pickett's going to get better next year. So maybe the identity gets better next year with it. Maybe the offense could do more when they have a real passing attack instead of just a rookie quarterback who is still finding his own. Maybe Najee Harris gets better because he could build off the second half of the year. Maybe the offensive line gets better because they have a full year together. Maybe we add more talent at wide receiver. Maybe we give Matt Canada some really good tools and see what happens. And I think Mike Tomlin's going to think that and go, that's probably the course of action. Is it a bulletproof plan? No. Is it one that many people are going to be excited about? No. Is it one that if I was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, would be excited about? No. It's a plan that I think is easy for Mike Tomlin. It's a plan that fits the mold of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's a plan that allows guys to do things that the Pittsburgh Steelers want them to do, and that is finish out their contract as offensive and defensive coordinators. Matt Canada has 1 year left on his deal. At least that's what the word is. You have to imagine that the Steelers are going to say, well, you showed us enough to get that last year. I don't know if I'm Matt Canada, I don't know if I want to come back because I'm not a very liked guy in the city of Pittsburgh. But you're going to do it, and the Steelers are going to make it happen. And it just feels like right now, Matt Canada is not the coach that's going anywhere anytime soon. There is a coach that's leaving, though, and it's going to be Brian Flores. He's already got a request to head to Cleveland to be interviewed for the defensive coordinator position. You'd imagine more teams are on the outlook for him. I heard that the Houston Texans are reportedly interested in him as head coach. I don't know where he goes, but I would imagine that Brian Flores finds a way to get out of Pittsburgh and kind of upgrade his position in the NFL and continue working towards another head coaching opportunity, because a lot of guys in the locker room make it very known that he should have a head coaching opportunity. I think that from what I know about Brian Flores, and it's not a whole ton, I would agree. I think that he is a very good coach, but he's going to be gone. He'll be the coach that leaves, which I think is another reason for the Steelers to think about things, because the way Mike Tomlin works is, I don't like too much turnover. I don't like too much change, because too much change means that you have to start from scratch in certain areas. And I think that he's going to look at Brian Flores leaving and saying, that's a huge piece to this team that's gone. Why would we get rid of 2 and have to do this all over again? Instead, we'll just keep Matt Canada. We'll let Brian Flores rock and go somewhere else, and we'll move on to 2023. Is it ideal? No. And are the people that text me all the time and that slide into my DMs and that who hit me up in the mentions and the YouTube comments going to be happy? No, they're not. But this is how Mike Tomlin thinks, and this is how the Pittsburgh Steelers act. You finish 16th in rushing yards, 23 in passing yards, and 27th in points per game, and you still get another shot. You want to know why? Because Mike Tomlin, and yes, this is a little bit of criticism towards the head coach, Mike Tomlin loves to make excuses about why he should put faith in people. It's a reason why he's such a good coach. I will give him that, because he lets guys work through bad times where a lot of people, especially fans, would say, get him out of there. There's no way he's coming back in. Get him out of there. Mike Tomlin is a guy that lets people work through the rough times and get better. He sees that. And that works a lot of the time. It does. It allows people to trust Mike Tomlin, and that's huge in the NFL. That's why players play for him. That's why for the players, going 9-8 was so important, because they love Mike Tomlin and they want to win for Mike Tomlin. It's what he does best, is gets people to actually care for him, and he shows that he cares for them. Unfortunately, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place because his offensive coordinator isn't worth the job, but he's done enough for Mike Tomlin to put a little bit of faith in him. And I think moving forward, people are going to be very disappointed when they don't get any news that Matt Canada isn't going anywhere. Maybe a tweet saying he's staying. But I don't expect, at least right now, for Matt Canada to be fired this offseason. If something changes, it's going to be drastic. But as we sit here right now, 48 hours or so removed from the final game, Matt Canada is the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2023.